Hi, my name is Bob, and I am a KFAI station volunteer. I'm also a listener member and co-host of the late night Sunday night show, Fused Funk, with my partner in funk, Katie DeSell. I also teach what we call board certification training. And in board certification training, we teach volunteers how to run our on-air equipment, because you can't be left alone in the studio unless you're certified to run the on-air equipment. As you can see in front of me here, this is our board. It consists of 18 channels. Each channel has a switch that turns the channel on, and it has a switch that turns the channel off. So as we take our volunteers through the training, it runs 5 weeks, one night a week for 2 hours. So it's 10 hours of fairly intensive training. Involves a little bit of homework and some practice time. So we go through the board, as we talked about. Buttons to turn each channel on and off, and each channel has what's called a fader, and that controls the level of sound that you're putting out over the air. And as you are monitoring what you're putting out over the air, one of the things you want to keep your eye on is what we call the meters. Now the meters will show a nice cool green stripe here that we like to have bump right up against this orange measuring point. And that makes sure that we're not overmodulating or sending out too high a sound, which will result in cracks and sparkles and booms and all sorts of unnecessary stuff on the air. Whatever's coming through the board, it's monitoring the strength of that signal. And you see we like to bump it right up against that nice orange measuring point right in the middle. If we go too high like that, then we start to overmodulate. We don't want to do that. As we teach our volunteers to control the board, we tell them to start with the fader at a point measured as 0 on the board. And then they look over to the meter and they look to see if their signal strength needs to be increased, which they can push the fader up, or whether it needs to be decreased and they can pull the fader down. And sometimes when you're using bed music or music behind your talk break, a good place to put your fader is just above the 10, so that allows the music that you've got playing in the background doesn't drown you out, and the folks can hear what you're saying. But they can also hear the music in the background as well. So as I mentioned, there's 18 channels, and these channels all do neat and fun stuff. The first 5 channels on the board control 5 microphones that are in the studio. Microphone 3 is always the one that's what we call behind the board and is used by the engineer. Mics 1, 2, 4, and 5 are for guests that sit on the other side of the board. The 6th channel in the first segment is for our phone. As you see, we have a studio phone. We're going to point to that. And that phone is used to allow listeners that want to phone in to be on the air, maybe ask a question, make a request, comment, or be involved in an interview if they can't make it into the station personally. So one of the things we teach our new volunteers to do as part of the board certification training is how to operate the phone and put listeners on the air. And again, to put them on the air, we simply lift the fader up, turn the switch on, and we have them on the air. Moving into the second segment of the board, the first channel controls what we call the DDS, or Digital Delivery System. And the DDS is where we have all of our promos, carts. A lot of the programmers have their intros and outros there, and there might be special programs contained on the DDS as well. So the DDS itself is a computer. This is what we call our Digital Delivery System, and as you can see, you can load, I'm going to use the mouse here as an indicator, you can load 10 different carts or promos or items to play on the air. And so it's very simple. You just click on what you want to play and you drag it over and you drop it in, and then you queue it up, and with the little blinking light here tells us we're queued up, ready to go. And when we're ready to play it, we move over to the board, push our fader up to 0, turn the board on, and we're playing the item that's on the digital delivery system. As you can see, it tells you how many seconds are left before this particular item is done playing. It also tells you how long it played. So you use this to help gauge when you should be ready to go to a talk break, start a CD, or do whatever it is you're going to do next. This little piece of equipment right here, and basically a mini disc, is just a little cassette that fits in there that you can record, program stuff on, and play over the air. We also have channels for our solid state recorder, which is this piece of equipment here. It works off of a flash drive. Not too much different from the mini disc, other than it's a flash drive and it holds a lot more information. And if you can record stuff on your flash drive, you can play it over the air using our solid state recorder. The next two channels go with our cassette player and our CD reader writer. So we have a piece of equipment here on the rack that allows you to play cassettes. Don't know too many people that do that anymore. But you can also record your show real time by putting a blank CD in here and setting it up to record, and then turning it on when you get ready to record your show. And you can actually burn a CD real time as you are doing your show. Or in terms of the folks going through board certification training, they can record their practice sessions and see how well they're transitioning between the various pieces of equipment. The last item in the middle segment is for our first CD player, and then as we move into the final segment of the board, we have CD player 2 and CD player 3. We have 3 CD players in the studio, and they are numbered 1, 2, and 3 as we go down the rack, and they're 1, 2, and 3 on the board. Again, very simple process. You push your fader up to 0, and when you're ready to play your CD, you simply turn the channel on, and away she goes. The CD players also have some interesting characteristics about them in that you can play one track at a time, and when that track is done, it'll stop. Or you can put it on continuous play, and it'll play one track right after another.